So we just had this thought about monogamy versus polygamy, and like what is the best course of action. And you know, what I would say is that like it really depends on what you want to do. There's no right or wrong, because I think like in society in general, it's like considered that monogamy is the correct course of action, and that's what you should be doing. And if you're not doing that, then you're an evil player and you shouldn't be doing that. But actually there's nothing, I think, necessarily wrong with that. It really comes down to like how honest you are about your intentions and how that's communicated, rather than something or something else being bad per se, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Right, yeah, it's like the player versus the romantic. Like, what do you feel is true to you? And I feel like guys innately have a bit of both within them, and it might change from season to season. So during the winter they might feel, you know what, I'd really like to cuddle up with one person. You know, this is what it's really about. You know, starting a family, taking your girl to your parents and the family gathering and all that stuff. You know, it's lovely, and you start thinking maybe a bit more traditional, right? And you think, you know, it's all about having kids and family, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. That's what we're wired to do. But at the same time, it's like, well, we kind of want variety as well. Like, you can't really, well, you can help yourself, you can discipline yourself, but that's if you're in a relationship. So I suppose you've got to make a choice, and it's not easy for guys to just be like openly polygamous, I guess, most girls, because they find that if they're upfront and honest, they're going to lose that particular girl who might want something more than that.
Yeah.
And you might be on the same wavelength. You might be feeling you know, connection, and you're both getting along very well, and you like spending time, and it feels natural to just kind of want to be with that one person. And so there's often a conflict, really, and there could be a conflict in your mind as well. Like, you might be thinking two things at the same time.
Yeah, well, like the thing is, what you said before about like variety, I think that for me is like quite important. And like for me, being monogamous just doesn't really work for me at this point in my life. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. And just because most people do that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do that as well. And just because, you know, you're watching some day game stuff doesn't mean you have to go full on with the polygamy stuff either. Like, some people just assume, oh, he's getting so many numbers, he's super polygamous, and I bet he's dating like 10 girls, you know, in a week or something. But it's just, you know, it's just about finding really what works for you. There's no right or wrong.
I think if you're like someone like Hugh Hefner or someone really up there who's able to acquire a harem, that's like true polygamy right there. But if you're a normal single guy, then you're trying to, you know, spin multiple plates, it might be a bit trickier.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know how people have the time for that, to like date like you know, even 5 girls at once. Like, how the fuck do you have the time for that?
It's a lot of, well, it can be a lot of mental stress, and like you'll be feeling like, is it really worth it? Like, what the hell am I doing? But then there might be some days, oh yeah, this is awesome, I'm living the lifestyle. Yeah, it might be a lot of shadow.
That's alright, don't worry. We'll walk this way.
We'll walk this way.
Yeah.
What I was about to say, so isn't there times when you feel like you might feel emotionally attached, not by your own choice, but it just kind of happened naturally out the blue, and then you thought,
yeah,
you know what, this feels right. Like, I don't actually feel like going out and trying to, you know, mess around with other chicks, because this feels good in the moment. I
have had that in the past, where like I've had a really good connection with a girl, and I could see myself actually like spending more time with the girl just because there's that emotional connection, and there's just a good like level of just comfort between the two of us, where we just feel good with each other. But then it's like, it's not just that isolated by itself, because it's easy just to look at that in isolation, when really like I'm looking at kind of like the bigger picture, like how do I want my life to be, and how can this situation fit into that? Can it fit in, or can it not fit in? You know, because I want to travel, I want to do other things, I want to spend my time doing other things. How much of my time would you want? All of these different things you have to weigh up. So it's not really a question of just like, oh, I like this, let's just go with this. Do you think there's like a certain event that kind of messes it up usually, or a specific reason that both of you might have parted ways?
Just your goals were different. Perhaps.
Lifestyle. It's about how. Yeah, it's the lifestyle. It's like what kind of life do you want to live? Is getting into like a kind of relationship going to be conducive to that? Because ultimately, the thing is with life, you have to make a sacrifice. Like, you have to sacrifice something in life. You can't have everything, whether that's money, whether that's time, whether that's relationships, whether it's that girl that you like, whether it's that hobby you like. You have to sacrifice something. You cannot have everything in life. And so, yeah, you can't have it all. And one thing that is so vitally important for just general happiness and well-being is reflecting on what you already have and being grateful. Gratefulness is such a fucking important thing to do in life. Just thinking of what you actually do have in life rather than focusing on, oh, I want this, I want that, oh, if only I could do this, if only I could do that.
It's when actually to be discontent. Like,
it is. You need a bit of that to spur you on and motivate you to push for more things, to strive for more, to strive for your goals and things that you want out of life. But yeah, it's important also just to kind of reflect on what you already have and be grateful, because otherwise that leads to depression, I think, and general unhappiness.
Yes, exactly. You want to avoid that. Make sure you take action in order to keep yourself on the right track. But it's also good to be introspective as well, figure out what it is that makes you happy. And maybe what you think will make you happy won't actually make you happy. Maybe being a player isn't for everyone. It might not be for maybe it's fun for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm a player now. Or like, I'm a player, this is me, this defines me. It can be like, well, maybe I'll be a player this week and maybe next week I won't be, you know. You can be flexible about it. It doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to be set in stone. You can experiment, you can see, do a bit of this, do a bit of that, see what works for you. Because this stuff, you know, it needs to be experienced. It's all well and good like talking about it and having an idea in your mind about how would you like it to be, but actually going out there and experiencing it is going to be different, and that's ultimately what's going to determine what works best for you. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a phase that I guess a lot of guys go through, and they switch phases often. There might be a serial monogamous. They go from being, you know, oh, this one girl for the, we love you, I love you forever, and then afterwards it's like, oh, yeah, I got to experiment.
Well, that's like the modern day marriage, isn't it? It's like, you know, people get together, they think they love each other, 10 years later they're divorced. I mean, the divorce rate is so high right now. People change, you know, and that's normal and that's natural. So, you know, divorces and separation is also natural and also to be kind of expected.
I was always curious about when you see those couples who've met each other in high school, how do they stay together for so long? Like,
that's always
like they seem genuinely happy.
Yeah.
How do they do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
did the guy never have to go through heartbreak? Was that his first ever girl?
It could be.
He didn't have to...
But I think that's great. I mean, those are the best kind of relationships, in my opinion, like where there's like the childhood sweetheart, and it's like almost like the only relationship they've ever had, and they're connecting so well, and they don't know any other way, and they wouldn't have it any other way anyway. You know, that is actually really beautiful and works really well.
So you find yourself...
but it's very much a minority. I mean, not everyone's that lucky.
Yeah. I guess most guys would have to experience, like, receive their scars in the field, let's say. They might become kind of jaded, which is, I suppose, I don't know what happens to them emotionally. They might become emotionally cold. Yeah. Because of all the shit they had to go through. And
I mean, that's actually very common with guys when it comes to dating. They can become very jaded and kind of resentful or remorseful sometimes because of, well, bad experiences and the emotional toll it has on them.
So yeah, they do have to build up a shield, let's say, and
it's so maybe a shield, but also maybe it's about just letting go and letting things happen, but not getting emotionally invested in the outcome of whatever happens, because a lot of the time what actually ends up happening is out of your control. So one thing is, put up a shield to prevent it from coming to you, but another thing is maybe just letting down that shield, getting rid of the fucking shield, letting it come through you, letting it pass through you.
It's tricky to micromanage emotions, let's say, like, because often a biological, evolutionary, and all the time we're trying to say, yeah, like her, but don't like her that much, or keep her at arm's length. So you don't get attached to anything. You can walk. This quote from here: you can't walk away from 5 seconds flat.
Yeah. Let me
right.
put,
so
let
that's
me
true.
put this
but
on
I
there
suppose,
because my arm's getting a bit tired.
More like the guy goes out and maybe gets his heart broken.
Yeah.
The easier that is. If he's just starting out, if he's a teenager, he's going to be very idealistic. I think a lot of us start out quite romantic and think, this is the one. This is the girl that we're going to travel together. Some people manage that, like some people don't. I guess you gotta play the card you're dealt. So if someone asks you, are you a player? Don't say, you just say, look, I'm not a player, I just play the card I'm dealt.
I just play the game.
I play the card I'm dealt. What am I supposed to do?
I've been asked that. I have been asked that by guys and girls. So guys who, when they know that I do this stuff, or like about they know I coach this stuff, and even girls when I'm like on dates with them and stuff, like they'll ask me like, are you a player? And it's like, it's almost like you shouldn't really feel the need to have to kind of like justify yourself. I mean, a lot of the time I just, take the piss out of the question because it's kind of a silly question anyway.
It's kind of like asking a girl, like, are you talking to 5 people at the same time on your Instagram? Like,
it's like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But is it such a bad thing? Yeah, it's normal. I mean, it's the dating game. I mean, obviously, girls talk to more than 5 guys at a time, and they certainly have. If a girl's attractive, she's going to have more than 5 options.
It's kind of naive to think that for her to expect you to be like the perfect guy with no baggage at all. Like, I've never talked to any girl ever before you. It's the first time I've never been with anyone. Like,
that's actually one of the things that I say. Like, if a girl shit tests me and says like, how many girls have you been speaking to, or do you do this all the time, or whatever, I'd be like, no, you're the first girl I've ever spoken to in my life.
Yeah, but that doesn't work. Even being the pristine, perfect guy, like, in reality,
they're not looking for that anyway. They're not. It's really just a shit test.
What are guys looking for the girl? Looking for in the girl? They're looking for the least amount of baggage or emotional distress in her past as possible. Would you say that's true?
Well, kind of. I mean, most of the time, most guys don't really want to have to deal with a girl who's got a lot of emotional baggage with her. Because it can get projected in quite toxic ways, I think. Fortunately, I haven't like been dating a girl sufficiently enough to have actually experienced that, because normally I can pick up on these things early on then treat it as like a red flag and not proceed with it.
The ex comes back to town and brings up her ex all the time? Okay.
I've never really had that actually. I've never been with a girl and like spoken and she's been talking all about her ex all the time. It's a bit of a cliche, it's a bit of a stereotype, but I've actually personally never really experienced that. Have you? Like, a date with a girl, she's always talking about her ex.
I've mentioned it a few times, but no.
Yeah, I've mentioned it a few times, but not like super like dwelling on it or like talking about it a lot.
Yeah. Well, we just got to learn from the past and live on and try and make the right decisions.
But yeah, I suppose back to the original topic about monogamy versus polygamy. It's about what you want to do, not being so rigid with it, and not necessarily feeling like you need to sort of like justify one thing or another thing. It's good to experiment with both, see what you prefer, see what works for you, what works best for you. And have fun with it. Don't take this whole thing so seriously, because like we said, I mean, the actual outcome about whether a girl is ultimately going to get into a relationship with you, date you, etc., a lot of it is actually outside of your control. The girl has to like you, etc., etc. Of course, part of it is in your control, but you can only control the stuff you can control, i.e. your conversation, the fact that you approach her, your presentation, your looks, your fitness, all that stuff. But other than that, ultimately, you can't control the girl's actions. You can only do the best that you can do. So don't get so bogged down on what she wants, etc.
Control your mental states.
Control what you can control, and don't get emotionally invested in the stuff you can't control. That's my biggest recommendation. And enjoy it. Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me where we'll go out in public and work on your approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.